what does that mean? That means that we've got to spend extra time in your training. What we do is as therapists and athletic trainers emphasizing that. The reason that's important is because if you're a non-trained female athlete, meaning you haven't had some specific hip and core training and some balance training, you're at 5 times the risk of suffering an ACL injury. If we train you, your risk goes down to 1 to 2, right, compared to males. Right? There's a lot of reasons, and Alicia Marble is going to talk about the reasons why females are more likely to have a knee issue. We got here early this morning setting up the facility manager. You know, when you talk to ex-female athletes, they normally have this little badge of courage on their knee. A lot of times it looks like a little scar. She had torn her ACL, and she's traveling. There's a lot of events going on at Queen's University today, and we were talking about her tearing her ACL in college. They didn't have some of the training back then that we do today. All right, the I in middle stands for improper nutritional planning. Right, so I saw some kind of fast food cups. I'm not going to mention any names or point out anybody. I saw some fast food cups coming in here today because it's early and people are stopping to get stuff. All right, but French fries are our #1 vegetable. That's probably not a good sign for us as Americans. All right, you need to know how much protein you should get. All right, anywhere from 0.7 to 0.9 grams of protein per body weight. And again, Marla's going to talk about that a little bit. How often should you eat? All right, and what are you eating? All right, and then what the studies show is that children on average consume 3 servings of soft drinks or energy drinks a day. Now, a few years ago, I put salt drinks, and then about 3 years ago, I had to start putting energy drinks in because that's the new coffee and things like that. And so it'd be a good conversation we have with Dr. Klein when she comes in about her philosophy on energy drinks. The D stands for decrease in athletic fundamentals. As parents, we didn't have year-round same sport when we were growing up. Okay, some of the girls in here may not even know any different than playing one sport year-round. So we would have to go out and make up our own games and play different things. And there was an off-season, and there was a summer where you just kind of hung out and did whatever. Nowadays, you got tournaments all summer, and you got big tournaments, and you're traveling out of state on tournaments. So what we see in athletes, especially with PE not being part of school anymore, is that you're losing some of the fundamentals, meaning how do you skip, how do you run, how are you working on balance, different muscle groups that we worked on previously by playing different sports. So we're missing what we call the ABCs: agility, balance, coordination, and speed. Right? And so that plays into some of the training you guys need to have as part of your overall development as an athlete. And there's no reinforcement of learned movements and neuromuscular stability. What we see in athletes, when you get really good at your sport, whether it be volleyball, whether it be swimming, whether it be soccer, there are certain imbalances that are in every sport. And you're very good at that movement pattern, but when we take you out of that movement pattern, you're not as good. Well, a good athlete, right, a very good athlete, even though they may not be good at that one movement pattern I show them today, within about 30 minutes, they're figuring it out. If we do double knee bounce on the ball, we do a lot of balance work on the gymnast ball. A good athlete will kind of figure that out. All right, the ones that aren't as good, it takes them a lot longer. That's usually because they're not doing multiple things. All right, early sports specialization, we just talked about that. All right, 50% of all injuries are due to overuse of the same muscle pattern or movement pattern. Okay, when I say injuries, don't get so caught up on injuries as opposed to soreness and recovery and things like that. Okay, because that's a precursor. Okay, if you keep having the same ache and pain, there's a reason for that. Okay, it's not a rite of passage. When I go out and talk to a lot of baseball communities. When I go out and talk to them, I say, how many people have shoulder, elbow pain? Every single kid raises their hand. Okay, it shouldn't be that way. All right, it's not a rite of passage. All right, so you need to get that looked at. Okay, athletes should take 2 or 3 months off from their sport. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't. That doesn't mean you sit on the couch. All right, that doesn't mean that you watch TV. That means you should get away a little bit and work on the preparation for the sport as opposed to just playing. See, what always interested me is that for you guys, coaching's gotten 10 times better since I've been a kid. All right, I had Johnny's dad and Bobby's dad, hey, coach me. Okay, now you guys have collegiate coaches that are coaching. Okay, your facilities. Look at this facility. This wasn't here 2 years ago. Okay, facilities are better. All right, competition's better. But one can make the argument that our bodies, because of our nutrition and because we sit at computers and play video games on the phone, we're texting, things like that, are not as good as they were a few years ago, but your practices are better, practices are longer, all right, things like that. So we go back and forth with coaches sometimes about your ability to know the game and work on the skills and work on the technical tactics part of the game is so much better, but I'm not sure you have a better athlete yet, right? Because they're playing more, really truly working on becoming a better athlete. Okay? And then lastly is the lack of oversight. You know, you guys are pointing, parents are pointing in so many directions, you know, for proper care. You know, who should you contact if they need to get faster or work on change of direction? What about muscle imbalances? How about nutrition, how that affects recovery? You know, I need to put on a little bit of weight because I've got to play at a higher level. I need to take off a few weight. I need to have a better body composition. What do I do about that? You know, what about flexibility? You know, my daughter needs to be a little more flexible through her shoulders, through her hips, etc. So you guys are getting pulled in different directions. That's another emphasis from why we put this together, to offer more resources.